Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to Radioacktiva.
What's going
Hola, how
on?
you doing? ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. What about you guys?
I'm
So
doing
cool.
good.
Chilling.
Hey, great movie. Very interesting the approach because initially I thought it was a horror movie, but it turned out it wasn't really a horror movie. Am I right? How did Ryan pitch you guys the story for this? How do you guys get involved in this? How does he explain everything that happens to the movie to you guys?
I mean, my version is pretty boring, but because it's pretty straightforward. Maybe yours might be a little more interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, I learned about this role through my big sis, her. I've been traveling for a while singing background, and one day she called me and told me about the role and said I should audition for it. So, I auditioned. I sent in like a self tape, which was like my first self tape, and I did a video playing a little bit of guitar, and I sent it in. Not really knowing what to expect. And a couple weeks later, I got a call back to go to LA, and that's when I met Ryan and Mike. And from then on, they kind of showed me the movie and they pitched it to me, and it was incredible, man. I was excited to be a part. And once we got to set, it was a lot of fun.
And in the earlier processes, like you don't really get, with a movie like this, you kind of keep the script under wraps as much as
Right? Yeah,
possible. So
yeah.
it's super vague. You don't really know a lot, in terms of the other actors. Me and Ryan's a different relationship, obviously. So he calls me, he kind of like lightly talks about it. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're doing, and he kind of sends me the script. And when I read it, it's like, all right, let's do it. I don't really, I don't really put too much thought into it. I knew it was going to be challenging, but I was looking forward to it.
Okay, it's just that, of course, from our perspective, when you see the movie, you're expecting one thing when you see the trailer, but when you
Mm.
see and just sit down and find the blues and the music and the ethnicity and everything, it's great. I just talked to Leroy, Omar, and Lee about
Mm.
it, and I was asking them about if they thought like this somehow it's like a movie, let's call it like a horror movie for our times. There's ethnics, music, horror. It also talks about racism in a way. So I would like to know your take on this particular topics that the movie touches.
I mean, it's a very as Ryan would call it a genre fluid film. He wanted it to be the best movies. You don't really know what to expect. You're sitting down for however long, and you're kind of taken for a ride.
Right.
And he wanted this movie to kind of do that as well. Obviously, we got to market the movie. You know what I'm saying? We got to, this industry is very, what genre is this? But with something that kind of crosses um, along all genres, that's when I think you hit a sweet spot. You know what I'm saying? It's something special that you got to go see to kind of really understand what it is. So that's why we're encouraging people to get to the theaters. You know what I'm saying? We shot it large format, IMAX cameras. It's meant to be seen in the theater. You know what I'm saying? We want to bring people back to the cinematic experience. And the best movies can kind of touch on a lot of different topics. You know what I'm saying? Without being too spot on and not being too you know I don't know, too obvious with
Yeah.
it. So this is a movie that we want you to go home and think about. When you're driving home with your friends or your significant other, that you're having a conversation. In the car. When you're taking a shower, you're thinking about it. The next day, oh man, this movie's really sitting with you because these characters that he wrote and built are so rich and full of life, and somehow people can relate to that and feel connected.
Yeah, the movie got me thinking a lot of things. They're just letting me know that we're out of time. Just one small
I'm
thing.
so sorry. We're out of time. I'm sorry. We'll
No,
send you
yeah, I
back to
just
the
want to say
hospitality.
goodbye and great voice, Mal. Okay, Murmi, welcome to Radioactiva. My name is Julio Cesar Escobar. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine, thanks, and quite impressed with the movie. I know we have little times, so I'd like to get to it. I would like to see your take on this particular movie. We've been sort of told since most of the people already just seen the trailers that this is like a horror movie, right? But it is much more, right?
Yes, definitely. Definitely much more than a horror movie. I feel like it's a movie with lots of themes and messages and experiences. I feel like it's a movie with a lot of heart. I almost forget it's a horror movie. I almost forgot it was a horror movie whilst we were filming, in fact. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, there are vampires. And there's a
But
lot of blood.
but there's also, music is a big part of it too, right?
a huge character in the movie is music. It's the heartbeat. It's the backdrop. It's the reason. It's part of its purpose is the blues, and yeah, yeah.
Is would you could we say like this is sort of a horror movie for our times? There's, music, there's also the supernatural, the supernatural, and there's also multiculturalism. There's African American, and there's Irish, and there's a nod to Indian culture too, and of course there's a bit of how can I say this, racism, like the white folks trying to take over this place that the brothers were trying to build.
Yeah, I feel like it's a multicultural, multi-dimensional, I don't know, genre film. We have the musical elements, we have the spiritual and hoodoo religion featured there too, which I think is just such a beautiful. I don't know. I feel like Ryan has this way of like honorific portrayal of African and Black culture and cultures and indigenous cultures. Yeah, I really love that there is this historical element in lots of different ways, whether it's the Irish, there's talk of the colonization of Ireland in here too. There's the wisdom of the Native Americans. There is the wisdom of the hoodoo priestess, my character. There's so many different messages and conduits of the message. I definitely feel like the vampire message of like who do you invite in, and preserving your culture, your gift, your reason and purpose, and where you get that purpose from and that gift from your ancestry, and knowing that it paints it really perfectly that this gift of Sammy's came from the motherland, and knowing that it will reverberate into the future. I love that message about like who are you inviting in, and how do you keep what you have and your gift like clear and free and yours, and creatively free to do what it needs to do in the future too, for future generations.
This is a very particular movie, with lots of elements combined. So how does one prepare the character? This is the kind of character that you're only going to play once in your life. I don't think you run through this kind of movie more than once in a lifetime, with all of those elements we have discussed. So I would like to know a bit about that.
Oh, Annie, playing Annie was like an honor of my life. I feel like I learned so much from her. I learned by my research into hoodoo and voodoo. I had no idea about its connection with Ifa, which is the traditional Yoruba religion. I'm a Yoruba woman, and so learning that a whole part of my ancestry was now revealed to me, and I didn't know anything about it. Yeah, she's such a spiritually strong and enlightened person. She's connected. She moves with love, healing. Yeah, again, hoodoo is something that, I mean, especially voodoo, the word voodoo conjures up so many different images that we've been force-fed in Western culture, through Western culture, whether it's through James Bond or whatever, or whether it's The Crucible, the play The Crucible. And now, to me, through this film, I feel like it is this, I kind of put it up on a pedestal as this healing, connected, beautiful, loving religion that I had the privilege of like delving into and meeting priestesses, and in the city of New Orleans, it's very prevalent. Again, I didn't know that about New Orleans. I didn't know that that I would find a piece of myself there.
Well, they're just letting me know that we have no more time. But well, I just wanted to let you know I'd enjoy your part in the movie, and thank you very much for this time.
Thank you.
Good.
Julio!
Good.
I have to ask you, how did Ryan pitch you all the idea of this movie? There's like lots of things going on. This is like a vampire movie, but there's also much more than that, right?
Yeah.
Much more than that.
First week we all sat down and he presented to us. It was like a full day of him showing us the music that he had in mind with Ludwig, and then he educated us on the history and the story of where his inspirations came from. He met with us individually and told us where each one of our stories stems from.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do much pitching for me. I've seen his previous work, and that was something I wanted to be a part of. And so when the opportunity came, I cleared my schedule and jumped at it to go sweat in New Orleans.
What about you, Delroy? I love you as a harp player.
Thank you. Similarly, you know, I know who Ryan is as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, and he spoke with me about this. Spoke with me a little bit about the character, but then he sent me the script. And when I read the script, we were off to the races. I told him how I'd responded. I told him what I responded to. I told him what I did not respond to, and he took all of it on board very collaboratively, and that's how our relationship started and continued throughout the process of making this work.
From my perspective, this is sort of like a horror movie for our times. You know, you have a huge mix of things. Music is incredibly important, but there's also, I wouldn't know exactly how to say it in English, but the ethnicity we see during the movie. There's Indians and there's African American, and there's lots of things going on. So I was impressed on how all those things mix, but how did you feel it during the filming of the movie?
I visited the set before I actually started working, and it was when they were in the town where your store is, and it was the scene where you cross the street from one.
Right.
And I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I was not aware of your Chinese.
Existence of the Chinese
I was
Americans
not.
in the Mississippi
In
Delta.
Mississippi Delta. I was
Neither
not
was
aware
I.
of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm standing there and I'm watching this, and it's indicative of Ryan's awareness of history. Not only his awareness of history, but then he finds a way to present that creatively to audiences.
That's so well put.
How was that for you, Omar?
Del said it all, because honestly, that's exactly it. There's an inclusiveness, and the only Julio, the only gripe I got with what you said is that it's a horror film. It's not really a horror film.
It is not.
And I mean,
I agree.
although I believe that fans of the horror genre will be satisfied, but it's a film that's chock full of different genres, emotions, activities, and the multi-ethnic melting pot component of it, to me, represents the true transparency of America.
Amen. And community, the heart of community. And who are Americans?
That's it.
Who are Americans? Which is a very contemporary question.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who is America?
Yeah. Who is America?
Who's part of this promise? Right?
Preach.
Who's part of this promise, and who actively contributes to America?
To America.
All
as an
those,
idea and as a practical community.
As a practical concern, as
Yes,
a practical reality.
yes.
And so from that standpoint, this film is very, very contemporary as far as I'm concerned. And piggybacking on what Omar said, and I don't like that word horror. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's a conduit only. It's a device. And yes, hopefully horror fans will be satisfied with that aspect of the film. But as far as I'm concerned, and I identified this from the first time I read this script, it is a device only as far as I'm concerned. The horror genre, he's telling a much larger story as far as I'm concerned, and using the genre of horror, and I don't like that word. He's using that genre as a conduit to tell a larger story as far as I'm concerned.
larger story about our relationships and our human
Community.
instincts and
About
what
America.
one does.
Yes, about America. And that's a great point, Julio. You brought that out of us. And the truth of the matter is, he uses the horror element to bring together all the ethnicities,
That's
to
right.
bring together all the communities, warts and all. Because
Warts
this
and all,
is
amen.
an honest portrayal of a lot of stuff.
Amen. That's right.
That was what caught my attention the most on the movie. And of course, the closing and the blues. I'm not gonna say much because probably people are gonna see these before they were able to see it in the movies. They're just letting me know that we have no more time, but it's been a pleasure. It's
Thank
been
you.
great having you all. Love the part, love the music, love the blues. Looking forward to seeing you around Sunday. Well, thank you for the movie, okay?
Thank you, Julio.
God bless you.
Thanks for your
Have a nice
question.
day. Of course. Jack, Jamie, welcome to Radioacktiva. My name is Julio Escobar. Great pleasure to be talking to you.
Yeah, lovely meeting you.
Likewise.
I gotta say it, both of you impressed me with your singing. The performance, the whole thing going on, you on stage and outside, Jack, while you were singing this Irish thing. Impressive. So I know we have little time, but I gotta know a bit of both in that experience. Jamie, if you could just tell me, I had no idea you had experience on stage or any relationship with music. So could you please tell me?
You know, I'll try to make this very quick. I actually got my start in musical theater, is where I got my start, but I have always been a scholarship kid, right? So I never had the resources to properly train. And so I internalized that and actually stopped myself from singing for almost 10 years. And so then to do this project and get to sing was the first time in about 10 years that I got to perform. And with this music, and my voice getting to sit in a place that I felt comfortable, that I felt at home in, was one of the greatest gifts I could have gotten doing this project. So it was personal in a lot of ways, as well as a great joy to let loose, for sure. Yeah.
Love it. What about you, Jack?
At pubs, singing in pubs.
It's the best stage, though.
5 or 6 Guinnesses.
Yeah.
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 Are you somehow or in any way related to the blues? You like the blues, you enjoy the music, the whole culture around New Orleans, because I think the blues is a big part of the movie, the whole Robert Johnson mythology and all
sure.
that. So, what would you say? What would you have to say about that?
I mean, blues is a big upbringing for me. I'm rooted in gospel music, right? And gospel and blues were like twins, right? On opposite sides of the coin, right? So it was great to get back down in those roots and journey through that and discover that and tap the soul of a lot of genres that I love and live in right now. It felt very educational and very rewarding, for sure.
Yeah. I think to enjoy music, modern music, you have to. You automatically you enjoy blues, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
Just because blues being the catalyst to more or less everything that came after that.
Yeah.
Which is told, I think, quite wonderfully in the sequence there, the IMAX sequence in the Duke joint. I'm not allowed, don't want to say too much, but yeah, if you're a bit of a nerd like I am with music, then yeah, you kind of appreciate the importance of blues, and amazing that we get to kind of portray that within this story.
Yeah.
You both in those scenes I'm talking about, since we have so little time, have like a bit of dancing. I would like to know that how was that prepared? Did you like were inspired in any other movie where music was important, or a real figure? Because well, I just love both, and I love that I have the chance to talk with both of you at the same time.
The dancing was a real discovery process, and shout out to our choreographer. I mean, he would put some things on, like see what sit on my body, then also would just like let me improvise, right? And now out of the improvisation, what do we create, right? Because I really wanted it to get freaky. I didn't want it to just feel like a a dance that's happening at a juke, but like, how do we tap into that spiritual element where it feels like, you know, I can't really talk about the performance too much because it's spoilers, but yeah. So there was a lot of that. How do we not make it cute? I don't want it to be cute. I don't even really want it to be sexy. I kind of want it to be like,
Visceral.
yeah. How do we do that? Yeah.
And Jack, you know, you're funny, but you're the bad guy. So it's funny, the choreography, you know, when you see you dancing with the trio. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had the great choreographer, man, Ackerman.
Yeah.
Shout out Ackerman.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a guy.
Okay. They're just letting me know that we don't have more time. Well, just that, you know, thank you very much. Music is a very important part of this story, and you perform a very important part in the movie with your songs. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Have a very nice day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Nice
Bye.
one.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too. I know we have little time, so let's just get to the point. Please tell me, what is Sinners to you? I had the opportunity of talking to the cast of the movie, and still, even though, you know, we can discuss about this is not a vampire movie and all that, I would like to know your take on it because, you know, it is different from what you would expect from a horror movie.
Oh yes, it is different in that it is horror, but it is so much more. This is a cinematic experience, and this movie deserves to be seen in no other way but in IMAX to get the full effect of all its glory, the horror, the action, the humor, the music. It's so emotionally raw. It's so intense and exciting. And yeah, it's going to be a film that stays with you for a while.
You know, what was it easy to act, you know, and react towards a different Michael B. Jordan,
You know,
depending on the scene?
I will tell you, yes, it was actually it was the most difficult for him, but he made it very easy for all of us because he had each character so specific and nuanced that we would know if it was smoke or if it was Stack the minute he stepped on set. He did such a phenomenal job going back and forth and balancing those two characters and just the weight of them and the schedule of you know the back and forth. He is so talented, Michael, and him and Ryan are quite the duo as we've seen in the past. So it was amazing to be in their presence and a part of this world with them.
Love the accent. How did you work the accent for the movie?
Oh, thank you. We had the most incredible dialect coach. Her name is Beth, and we often joke, but it's not a joke, that she was right there at the end of every take to jump in and help guide us and let us know if we were off at all on any part of a word. She is so good at what she does, and I had the most fun sitting with her in her office and pulling references from all different time periods that would relate to Mary and her sound.
What about Mary, your character, getting into it? You know, as we just mentioned earlier, this movie is about, you know, several things, but as I talked with the cast last week, it is also, you know, about the communities that built America. I think that was my take, you know, racism and lots of things that I also discussed with them. But tell me about getting into the skin of this character because it's very different from what we've seen you perform before.
Yes, of course. It was such a privilege to take on this role of Mary, and to be trusted by Ryan to take on such an important role in this film. I was so grateful to every bit of research that I got to do on my own family history, every conversation with Ryan when it came to developing Mary, and understanding sort of who she is in this in two worlds, so to speak, and understanding who Mary is today. And I think you said it perfectly. Mary is constantly coming from a place of love, and she's in a constant search for community and for family. And the minute she steps foot into the juke, she's home. She's with her people. She's with her
everything that could possibly remind her of her mother, who she's just lost, the music, the food, just the way everyone moves there, and specifically to the music. That's like her connection, her direct connection to being there and being brought up there. It was so amazing developing this character and understanding again who she is and bringing her to life.